What if I told you that one of the oldest documents ever discovered doesn't just list kings, but quietly challenges how we understand civilization itself? This is the Sumerian King List, a clay tablet record that stretches from mythic rulers who reigned for tens of thousands of years, right through to kings we can independently verify through archaeology. It's not fantasy, it's not legend, it's a real historical document studied by scholars for over a century, and it refuses to sit comfortably with what we think we know about early humanity. Tonight, we're going to unpack where it came from, who wrote it, and what modern archaeology has confirmed, and why this single list may be one of the most important and unsettling records ever left to us. The Sumerian King List wasn't written by one person, and it wasn't meant for storytelling. It was compiled by Sumerian scribes, most likely working in temple or palace bureaucracies, sometime around 2100 BCE, during the 3rd dynasty of Ur. The most complete version we have today is preserved on a 4-sided clay prism known as the Weld Blundell Prism, discovered in 1906 in the ancient city of Larsa in modern-day Iraq. The text itself is written in Sumerian cuneiform, and it presents a continuous line of kingship that begins with this extraordinary sentence: after kingship descended from heaven, kingship was in Eridu. That phrase is not poetic embellishment, it's administrative language. The purpose of the list appears to have been political legitimacy, to show that the current ruling dynasty stood in an unbroken, divinely sanctioned line stretching back to the very beginning of civilization. And here's the crucial point: the scribes never separated myth from history. To them, it was all one timeline. The list is divided into 3 clear phases: antediluvian kings, rulers before a great flood; post-flood early dynasties, still extraordinary reign lengths; historically verifiable kings, reigns that match archaeology. The list names over 100 rulers across cities like Eridu, Ad Tibira, Kish, Uruk, Ur, and Lagash. Now this matters for accuracy. For the earliest kings, we do not know their ages at death, exact lifespans, or biological details. What we have are reign lengths recorded in years, and those reign lengths are staggering. The first king listed is Elulium of Eridu. According to the text, Elulium reigned for 28,800 years. He is followed by Alungar, who ruled for 36,000 years. In total, 8 kings ruled for 241,200 years before a flood wiped civilization away. Here's the key scholarly consensus. These reign lengths are symbolic, not literal. They are based on the sexagesimal mathematics, the Sumerian-based 60 system. The numbers follow mathematical patterns and not random myth-making. Modern archaeologists agree these figures were meant to convey cosmic authority and not biology. But, and this is where it gets uncomfortable, the flood itself is not dismissed. Excavations at Sharupak, Ua, and Kish reveal a massive flood layer dated to approximately 2900 BCE. This flood was regional and not global, sudden and catastrophic, culturally disruptive, and crucially, the King's List explicitly places a flood as a dividing line in history, separating two ages of humanity. That aligns with archaeology far better than coincidence allows. Now let's talk about Gilgamesh, the most famous king on the list. Gilgamesh ruled in Uruk, likely around 2700 BCE. Here's what we know with confidence. He was a real king. His name appears on the King's List. He appears in independent inscription. His reign length is listed as 126 years, considered symbolic. And here's what we don't know. His age at death, his physical appearance, and the literal truth of the epic narratives. But his existence is not in doubt. This matters because Gilgamesh is placed only a few generations after kings who supposedly ruled for tens of thousands of years. Which means, according to the scribes, there was no sharp break between mythic and historical humanity. Let's talk about Enmenlu-Anna of Bad Tabira. He ruled, according to the list, for 43,200 years. Now here's the part that should stop you in your tracks. Bad Tabira was a real city, with archaeological remains showing advanced metalworking, particularly bronze, far earlier than expected. Enmenlu-Anna's reign length is mathematically linked to perfect sexagesimal cycles, suggesting he wasn't remembered as a man, but as a foundational era. In other words, his reign may represent the entire period when metallurgy transformed humanity. Not a king, but an age. The King's List may be compressing civilizational phases into royal names. This is not speculation, that is a peer-discussed scholarly interpretation. Over the last 50 years, scholars have confirmed many listed cities existed exactly when the list claims. Several kings appear across multiple independent inscriptions. The list selectively removes rival dynasties, showing political editing. Myth and administration are deliberately blended. This tells us something vital. The Sumerians believed history itself was sacred. The Sumerian King's List doesn't prove immortal rulers. It proves something far stranger. That the first civilization on Earth remembered its origins as something greater than itself. Something lost, broken, and only partially understood. Not fantasy, memory. And if they were wrong, then why were they so consistent?